Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey. Today I want to talk about Caza. He was born in 1941 and part of a gang around Philippe Druillet and Enki Bilal and of course Moebius, Jean Giraud, and you can see this in lots of his art, that there had to be a lot of mutual influencing going on, or it was never one way, I guess, thing there. They influenced each other, even though some stories and some tropes are clearly Caza, very special for him. This mystical eroticism here, pretty obvious in the same way here, is very much typical for him and typical for the 70s. Of course, this comic here is from 1976, and this panel here easily could have been used as a cover for some kind of psychedelic record, especially when you look at the next sequence of pictures rather than a comic. This is more a portfolio, I would say. This could have been used by some prog rock band of the day. And some other stuff like Aki looks a bit like Artsak, and maybe this was no coincidence. This is one longer story by Caza, very mythical, very ambitious, around this Aki, from the beginning of all existence to the end of all existence. So, encompassing literally everything, including fantastic psychedelic art. And almost each panel here could serve as could have been used as record cover art, but as we old men tend to say in these occasions, they don't make these LP covers like they used to, because now we have Spotify or something. So anyhow, this is a very here it's even more melodramatic than some of the stuff Philippe Druillet ever did. So this will tell you something. And the collection here in this book collects this kind of stuff that was previously published in heavy metal. And Caza did some other stuff, some social commentary, politically more social commentary stuff in Pilote. So as Moebius, aka Jean Giraud, he had somehow two comic personalities, and he was very active in animation and in advertisement. So these were maybe even his third and fourth persona, but I just want to speak about the cartoonist Caza, of course, here. Just to showcase you his importance for heavy metal. This book unfortunately falls apart a bit here. This is my collected edition of the German Schwermetall, which I showcase once in a while. And Caza here did the cover for the German, the second German issue. I'm not so sure if this was the second issue, cover for the second heavy metal in America as well, but maybe. And here in another heavy metal or Schwermetall with this cover here from Moebius, of course. There was the first publication, at least in Germany, of this story here that I've shown you before. The story that is titled very pretty closely to Artsak, about these axolotls, even though these creatures are by no means really axolotls. There are some guys else, à la bonne heure. And yeah, it's an amazing artistic effort here. You can look at some of these panels for a while, and I have to say that the high tone of the stories, the dramatic feel, and everything, that the bombast is not my everyday kind of cup of tea. And so it's a bit like with Philippe Druillet. Sometimes it's the melodrama and the pathos is a bit too much. You have to be in the mood, and then it's one of the best stuff that you can read in that mood. But yeah, it's not lighthearted. It's not an easy read. It's 666 all over. And yeah, okay, and I guess you have look at that stuff here. It's the story here is called Dirt Bird, by the way. Der Staubvogel. Don't know the French original title. And another of these ambitious stories. This is some kind of mythical sci-fi, but yeah, with this very overboarding eroticism, mysticism, using several paintings as inspiration. Amongst these, obviously, the Island of the Dead by Arnold Böcklin, as so many other cartoonists ever did. And here we have a new definition for mindfuck. And sometimes the fantasy of Mr. Caza is very impressive, let's say. And this is, even though this is somehow the same metaphor or same trope, but in a different setting. So he has very special worldview and things of the dichotomy between female and male in a very special way. And these last Indiana Jones-like story here goes the same route, as you can see here. So it's maybe good that we don't have more stories of this kind, but just a selection of stories, I guess. Because this is for this side of Caza. I don't know if I don't like the other side of Caza. Come on. Sometimes it's a bit difficult here to get my books with my contraption here. Talking about the other side of Caza. Same love for the detail in terms of the art, and Pilote always was more or less the funny brother or sister of heavy metal, and so it was with this German publication who is more aimed at adults. I mean, the French Pilote is a bit a different thing, I know. Anyhow, talking about Caza, this is very bourgeois couple can't sleep. The story is called Noise from Above, and above there is some kind of strange noise until he wants to complain, and he goes upstairs and he can't remember that there was anything above before, and he never was there, and the stairs getting more slimy with each step. And when he arrives right there. He seems to be at his own funeral. Yeah, I can tell you, this story here really got me back in the day when I read it. By the way, attending the grave, or this funeral here, is Monsieur Caza himself, right there. Some of these stories are his, the dreams of a hippie, I would call this stuff here, because here we have our guy Caza within a cardboard box in his room, and then a deluge happens, a big flood. And this is, of course, just a delight, because just a few cartoonists could and can draw stuff like this as nice as Monsieur Caza. And I really like this kind of humor that goes along with it, and is a good mix for me. So while his sci-fi stuff is sometimes a bit bordering on to be over-ambitious, even though I like it, but this kind of stuff, when he finally reaches the surface and is on a happy hippie island with nice friends there, nice company, everything. This is really nice. And something similar, pretty similar, this story here in this Pilote magazine, he paints his color, his room in this light blue with this light blue color, and he knows his Magritte over there. Surrealism is really a key here, I guess, to understand his stories. And then he is in this landscape, not in his room anymore, seemingly, and enjoys the stuff that he sees, but ouch, the wall seemingly is still around there. Not so funny story here, absolutely not, but interesting art-wise, of course, as well. We have this woman here who thinks about suicide, but then some kind of dream prince arrives, and he sings in the most kitschy but obvious way some old folk songs, and brings a lot of color in these panels and in her life. And obviously it's stuff that she enjoys as well. But he has some kind of meter going on, taxometer. So he is a dream prince for hire. And even though she is very quickly entranced in his voice and everything, she has to pay the bill afterwards. But probably it helped and saved her from suicide. And two little stories to go. This is an interesting story about Caza again, but even more about his car, who evolved into overnight into some being with an own will and own senses, and drives around and destroys other cars. He calls this car even a werewolf car, but some panels later he thinks, okay, maybe I should make friends with the car, and then the car even gets pregnant and gets a little baby car over there. So yeah, Caza's imagination knows no borders of any kind. And the last story, this is a harmless, nice story about his hair. starting to flower in the spring. And somehow he has success with these flowers in his hair. But then autumn arrives, and but autumn has its advantages too. So he has these potatoes there that maybe taste delicious. I don't know. So yeah, this was what I wanted to say about Caza. Maybe a last word about this book here. It's slightly less than 50 euros and not a very thick book, but if you are like me, really fascinated by this art here, and you can see the text is really minimal, maybe you will want to have this book alone for the art, even though I see it's really expensive. Something new with this edition here is that they put a bit of info in the back, and I know some of you really like to have these essays and find them essential. For me, it is actually with these splitter books either way a pleasure. If they fill it to the brim just with comics is fine by me, but to have something to read about Caza, to get some extra information, and the text here helps a bit to understand these comics for sure, is nice as well. So, thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.